Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Wildcard Sunday and that's why we're looking at something a little bit different, a little bit off the beaten path from our regularly scheduled videos where we focus on specific artists every day of the week. So with this book that you have before you today, I'm going into one of my guilty pleasures, which is the Image clone books or the Image copycat books. So if you know a little bit about Image, all of the, the 7 most popular artists from Marvel back in the early 90s broke away from Marvel, created their own creator-owned company, Image, where they owned their characters and went off to, at least for the first few years, super high levels of success. And of course, that engendered what usually happens in any industry when someone has success, a bunch of copycats and clones coming in and trying to piggyback off of that success as well. A lot of this stuff led to the glut of comics in the early 90s. The comic book industry bubble eventually burst, right? So a lot of these, what you'll find is, they didn't get much past issue 2 or 3 with most of these series. I reviewed a few weeks ago, I think, Arachnus, which would definitely qualify as one of those. So today we have Shadow Slasher number 2. It's the only one I have. I don't have number 1. Clearly it exists if number 2 is out. They do advertise number 3. Don't know if it ever came out. If anyone has a bit of information on the series or, things I don't mention today that I don't know about, please let me know in the comments. I'm definitely interested in learning all about these books and aspects of them that I'm not aware of. I love the inside baseball of it all, I guess is how I could put it. So Shadow Slasher number 2 by PC Comics, definitely not politically correct comics. This is pocket change comics. Pretty funny. I don't know if this is on purpose, but I would say that, the kind of design of his face here, it looks kind of like a dirty maple leaf, right? It's almost, is this guy a Canadian character? Are these guys Canadian? I have no idea. But let's have a look inside, see what we got in this issue here. So intro pages are a little odd looking with just kind of a light faded image of a city. Shadow Slasher, Blood of the City, Death and Renewal. Very 90s. Concept and story by Bob Dixon. Okay, so this guy comes up with the ideas, but he's got a guy who comes up with the illustrations, the drawings, the design, and the artwork, right, by this guy, Scott Shriver. So he's really, the workhorse here. Computer colors, Blue Moon Rising. That's pretty funny because the comic is black and white, so I'm going to assume that's just for the cover. So Shadow Slasher Volume 1, Number 2, 1994, first printing. Printed in Michigan. Interesting. So armed with razor-tipped whips and street-honed fighting skills, she fights for vengeance and for her own life in a dirty alley in Detroit. Distraught by the senseless murder of Daryl McKinley, a Detroit-based detective who, along with his partner Matt Baker, saved her from a life of drugs and prostitution, Riplash followed a bloody trail leading her to the Shadow Slasher. So the comic's called Shadow Slasher, but the intro here introduces a completely different character I know nothing about at this point. Never even seen her, right? It's a little odd. It's an odd choice. Also, to call her Riplash instead of Whiplash, to me just evokes, an Asian person raised in Asia who comes to America, and after a certain age, if you don't know this is scientifically proven, Asian people can't say certain letters as we would if they haven't, actually made that sound by the time they're like 11 or 12 or something, or we're in and around when puberty starts. So Riplash to me just sounds like, that type of Asian person saying whiplash. Odd choice again. This is a pretty amateur produced comic, I think. So, kind of something you would want to avoid is just starting off the book with like just one big white page. They would have been better off to kind of put all this, fit it all in one page here and start the comic here, and also probably save it a little bit of money because you're printing up one less whole page, unless you really need it at the end there. We'll find out when we get there, but I doubt it. So some of the hallmarks of these comics are clearly obvious on this first page here. So we have a female character who we haven't seen in this issue yet, and the first time we see her basically is a really up close shot of her snatch. So that's a hallmark of 90s comics, kind of bad girls. I guess by 1994 that fad had also kind of started, so I guess we're getting a little bit of it here. That's this character here. Riplash is her name, and then we've got our Shadow Shadow Slasher is this guy here, who to me basically is kind of a Spawn clone, right? Looking at this, I don't know. Eventually, I will review Curse of the Spawn, starting with issue 1. That first 4-issue miniseries was, to me, super awesome horror comics from the 90s, super grotesque and gory. If that had been published by then I feel like he's copied a little bit of that there specifically, because that Spawn in that future kind of apocalyptic nightmare world does resemble this Shadow Slasher. I keep forgetting his name. Shadow Slasher. And there's that almost maple leaf again on his face. So the artwork, very reminiscent of just, again, early Image, Bad Girl stuff, Mark Silvestri, Todd McFarlane. Has a bit of its own kind of thing going too. I'm not going to say it's 100%. I mean, it's more in the finish and stuff, but you know, something else going on there that's kind of interesting as well. Very underground, obviously, you know, a lot of black. It's kind of interesting, you know, some of the, you know, lack of skill in the drawing is made up for with like kind of the energy on the pages. That's kind of what I appreciate with something like this. Even though it's, you know, like I said, very derivative of another type of comic. I'm wondering if these seem like, you know, I looked at some McFarlane comics for those tall kind of narrow buildings that he tends to do in the backgrounds. And then the art kind of, you know, unfortunately, when we move from one environment to the other, it kind of shifts a little bit. You know, and we've got little flash. I mean, the proportions are very odd for this lady's face. The storytelling's clear. It's not hard to follow. You know what I mean? At least that. The reading flow is good. You get occasional flashes of brilliant drawing, I think. Like this, I will say I do think there's a lot of Tom McFarlane inspiration in the finish and the, you know, the noodly line work and stuff. But I think overall this is a pretty good kind of just basic illustration, right? Oh, Spider-Man thrown in there. Didn't notice that at first. You know, like probably photo referenced, right? And looks really good for the kind of TVs we still had around back then. This one seems to be at least from the 70s or possibly early 80s, right? This little cartoony guy here, I think, is done really well. And again, just not going too crazy with the layouts, and the reading flow is pretty straightforward and easy to follow. It's just, like I said, every once in a while, the proportions of the faces are very odd, and there's just kind of like little things that make the art stumble a little bit. But, you know, it's these kind of moments that make me want to check out these comics. I just find it hilarious that they would go to the point of, like, you know, we get the same shot basically as the first page again. And this guy, like I guess they're just communicating while she's jumping over him, but it just seems here like he's like, all right, like he's, you know, really enjoying this view of her snatch. And of course, yeah, one of the hallmarks of the Bad Girls is, you know, the least kind of practical outfit to go out and fight crime, or I guess in this case, kill cops or beat up cops. That seems to be what's going on here. Like I said, I'm not that interested in the storyline. Always love this too, where, like, you know, the cops are all super jacked, right? This is an odd one too. Like, just again, like storytelling wise and everything's fine. It's clear, it's understandable. But then you get things where, like, that arm coming down there, and it's like there's a subconscious need there that seems is not being met, I guess, through the story here that our character here is trying to tell the reader. Just very odd arm positioning. And it very much seems to have kind of the story tropes of an Image comic, right? The cops and, you know, a murder. And this is stuff you'd see a lot of, especially in Spawn, I guess, specifically. I don't want to say all Image comics, but in Spawn. But there's flourishes of good stuff here. Like, there's some weird almost tangents and stuff where, like, you can move things around just so it's a little clearer here and there with the couch. But, I mean, all of the actual details are really well done. This I guess that would be a VCR or something on a TV. Like, all the reflections and stuff, there's some good stuff here. Get a screen tone being used. That's cool. Weird legs, right? It's like most of the stuff that needs to be improved on is with the character's proportions and human body. Gratuitous nipple shot, right? That's not just in comics, not even just in 90s comics, right? It seems in most media, if you can highlight a nipple, they seem to do it. Heighten the nipple. So we get some more. I'm not quite sure. These guys are trying to steal or rape her or something. I just plan on slashing that mother's throat tonight. Oh, great. It's pretty dark. Off into the alleyway, and I'm not quite sure what's happening here. So maybe if we read, darkness engulfs the youths. Okay. Their screams drowned out by the shadow as it claims them. The young spirits are being extinguished, consumed by an ever-evolving evil that now lurks once more. Wow, that's some pretty, that's some, you know, wannabe Alan Moore filtered through Todd McFarlane, I guess, is how I describe that. Now we're back to a regular kind of story between this gentleman and Riplash. Typical kind of 90s poses, right, for the ladies. Kind of odd, this fence here. So, you know, nothing super exciting. The pacing's a bit off in this comic, right? So, you know, we just kind of end on a conversation between these two. And, you know, they give us a quick shot of, forgot his name again. Shadow Slasher. Right. And I mean, back then, you know, I don't want to rag on this guy too much because he's probably very young when he's doing this. I would bet he's pretty darn young, definitely under 20. So kudos to him to actually be able to get through a whole book and actually get from start to end, right? Whatever the quality here and there, overall, it's a really valiant effort for sure. But it just reminds me of like how in those early 90s, we all had these kind of copycat image characters, right? I have a bunch of them too. I've mentioned a little bit that when we hit 250 subscribers on the channel, I'll be doing a special video. There'll be some of that in that video. So, you know, little hint there as to what's going to be in the content there. It will be more kind of artwork related. And obviously once we hit 250, I will give you more details on that. And we end with the cool shot of, you know, our super cool anti-hero Shadow Slasher holding some guy's head. Not quite sure why, but it's a cool image. Looks good. And sometimes, like, at first when I looked at this, I thought he was just in front of a building, but he seems to be on a building, maybe across the street from another building. Very narrow, not a lot of space there, so maybe some sort of alleyway. Yeah, but just, you know, your typical kind of 90s copycat image here that we've seen 1,000 times, but there's, you know, still something pretty interesting about this one specifically. And there's an energy to it that I appreciate, even though it has a few shortcomings here and there. Just a fun kind of comic to leaf through and get a few laughs at character snatches in your face. Riplash, Sweet Vengeance, coming your way in April 1995. Did that actually happen? Don't know. So Shadow Slasher, Blood of the City, first issue. So I guess this is a bad print of that first issue's cover. So it does seem to exist. Hopefully the actual cover doesn't look like this, because that's definitely not attractive, especially compared to the cover of this one. That, you know, even though it's a black and white comic, they threw some color on there, and definitely a little more eye-catching than if not. Color really does affect people's perception of comics, I've noticed. So, you know, something we'll talk about more in the future. If you have any image copycat, comics that you know about, send me, you know, some screenshots or something, send me some comments. Maybe I'll be able to find those and review them. When I do find them, I do buy them, and they'll be part of Wildcard Sunday every once in a while, continuing on into the future if that's your kind of thing. Not sure how many views this is going to get, but that's kind of the deal with Wildcard Sunday. Some videos get lots of views and some get almost none at all, which is fine because there's different levels of obscurity to the books that are reviewed on Sundays. So there you have it. Thank you so much let me start that again. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Hopefully you're subscribed, but if you're not and you do enjoy the videos, subscribe. It helps out the channel, helps us grow, and helps get us out there to other people, hopefully, who enjoy this type of content as well. Hope everyone out there enjoyed the video, and hope everyone has an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.